From London, this is the Standard Podcast, and I'm Mark Blunden. The search for British technology tycoon Mike Lynch and his teenage daughter resumed on Tuesday after a luxury yacht sank in a tornado off the coast of Sicily. Violent storm hit the sailing yacht Bayesian, causing the mast to break and the yacht to be thrown off balance in strong winds. The head of Sicily's civil protection said Morgan Stanley International Bank chairman Jonathan Bloomer and Clifford Chance lawyer Chris Morvillo are also among the missing. 15 people were rescued, including a mother and her 1-year-old daughter. Survivors said the ill-fated yacht trip was organised by software mogul Lynch for work colleagues and lawyers who recently helped clear his name in a US fraud trial. Cave divers are trying to access the vessel, with bodies feared trapped inside. The opulent 56-metre Bayesian was said to have the tallest aluminium mast in the world. We're joined by Evening Standard Home Affairs editor Martin Bentham. Martin, what's the latest you're reporting on Tuesday?
Well, the latest, as it stands, is that the Italian divers have been down. The dive team has been down again, but they've yet to enter the actual yacht itself, because apparently it takes them 3 minutes to get down. They have 8 minutes of air while they're down there, and then they have to start the ascent, and it's quite difficult. The yacht apparently is at 90 degrees on the seabed, as obviously as reported overnight in the Italian Fire Department's statement. There's furniture understandably strewn about in the corridors, and getting access into the boat on the seabed, where it is at the moment, 50 metres down on the seabed, is not straightforward. They've said that they're hoping to do that soon and enter the boat soon and check through the whole boat to see if there's anybody in there, presumably dead, but possibly, I suppose, faint hope that there's some air bubbles in there, to find out who's in there, what they see, and then obviously if bodies are not found in there, people are not found in there, then they'll have to start continuing searching the sea and hoping that bodies presumably were found at some point in the sea in the area.
What do we know about the dead and missing?
The only person who's confirmed as dead is a chef on the boat. That's the only person we know has been confirmed as dead. The 6 people are missing. Mike Lynch, the founder of Autonomy, the tech tycoon, tech multimillionaire, entrepreneur, once known as British Bill Gates, and so on, because of his success in developing this software company, which was then sold to Hewlett Packard. £11 billion deal. So there's basically 6 people missing. There's Mr. Lynch, his daughter Hannah, 18-year-old, Jonathan Bloomer, the chairman of Hiscox and president of Morgan Stanley International, his wife Judy, and then the Clifford Chance lawyer Chris Morvillo and his wife. Those are the 6 people missing, unaccounted for as it stands, who the divers and search teams are still trying to locate. Survivors, 3 have been named so far. They are a New Zealander lawyer. Her name is Ayla Ronald, who was working at Clifford Chance on the team, Mr. Lynch's team, in the fraud case which was brought against him in the US, which we'll talk about in a while. And she was one of the people. Mr. Lynch's wife, Angela Picares, is another person who's there. And Miss Ronald, the New Zealand, the Clifford Chance lawyer, her partner, is also known to have survived. Don't know that person's name. But those are the 3 people who have survived. 15 have been brought off altogether, but only 3 of them so far have been identified. Oh, sorry, and one other, of course, is the final person that we know is a lady called Charlotte Galunski, who was on the boat. She has told this rather heroic story, how she was flung into the water. She has a 1-year-old baby. She held the baby above the waves until she and the baby were rescued. So there's a rather wonderful and fantastic survival story there, and obviously a terrifying, traumatic, hideous experience for her, but fortunately she has survived and managed to save her baby as well, which is a small piece of positive news in what's obviously a very bleak situation.
Any details regarding the fraud trial and this other connected tragedy?
Well, we certainly know the trial. Mike Lynch founded this software company called Autonomy. He was a former Cambridge graduate and developed this software company, which did incredibly well. Sold it to Hewlett Packard in 2011 for £11 billion. And then following that sale, Hewlett Packard wrote down rather dramatically the value of the company. And then there was an allegation that Mr. Lynch had conspired to falsely inflate the value of the company when it was sold to Hewlett Packard. And so he faced these more than a dozen charges in the US of relating to an alleged fraud. He was extradited eventually to the US to face trial, but then acquitted very dramatically in June. on all charges and cleared. He said that he only managed to succeed because he was wealthy enough to pay for his defence. He'd always been convinced of his innocence, and that these charges, which related in essence to concealing a loss-making part of his business and inflating the value of the business, making it look as if it was worth more than it was, backdated agreements to mislead about the company's sales and sort of intimidated people who raised concerns. Those are the allegations against him. But he was found innocent on all counts. And so, along with his finance director, a man called Stephen Chamberlain, who was killed in a road accident. He was running and hit by a car on the weekend in Cambridgeshire. So he's also met a terrible end, unfortunately, in a sort of stark and rather horrible coincidence. So they were both acquitted of that conviction. The trip that has led to this disaster with the super yacht being sunk in what appears to have been by a water spout, a sort of tornado that occurred because of the extreme weather in the Mediterranean, recently the sea heating up, which has caused the sea to be about 3 degrees warmer than normal, and thunderstorms and a big storm had broken out, and apparently then resulted in the mast of the yacht snapping and capsizing it and sending it to the seabed with this tragic consequence. So the trip, and the 22 people on board, 10 of them were crew. The other people were apparently all invited, reportedly, to celebrate the success of the defence in the fraud trial, and to celebrate Mr. Lynch having been freed when he was expecting, or fearing, I should say, maybe not expecting, because he thought he was innocent and believed he was innocent all along, but expecting that the system that he might face, because of the odds against him in terms of the weight of the prosecutions and the system that, as he saw, was designed to sweep people away, that he was really facing years and years in prison. So he went off to Sicily, it's reported, with people who'd been involved in his case and supporting him at the time to celebrate his freedom.
Let's go to the ads. Coming up, Taylor Swift's come a long way since her first London gig. Entry price £10. Why not hit follow on this podcast in the meantime and give us a rating? Welcome back. Taylor Swift bows out from Wembley with nearly 750,000 Swifties enjoying the stadium show over a record-breaking 8 nights. The economy-influencing music star described the sight of a sea of Swifties from her piano as the best view in London. Now, on Tuesday night, it will bring to an end this 8-show run. Evening Standard arts correspondent Robert Dex tells us about Swift's celeb support.
That's been one of the nice things, in that she's got a constant support for the gigs. But I think for 5 out of 8 of them, she's brought out sort of a separate support. People like Suki Waterhouse and Ray that's playing tonight. You can tell she knows she's got the influence, she's got the power, and she's thinking, right, who can I boost with this? Do you know what I mean? Who can I shine a bit of a light on? Which is fantastic to see her doing that.
What's been the significance of this run of 8 London shows, including her June dates, with nearly 750,000 people in attendance?
I tell you what, this sounds slightly off piece, but I was having a quick sort of go through like the cuts for stories about Taylor Swift and the Eras tour and something like that. And there is a huge, lengthy story that was published about inflation rates in the UK, which are staying at 2%, which should have nothing to do with Taylor Swift, except the story includes several economists, serious economists, people who know what they're talking about, saying that actually inflation has been affected by what they call the Taylor Swift effect. In other words, hotels, restaurants, transport are all raising their prices in cities where she plays, Cardiff, Edinburgh, Liverpool, London, Dublin, wherever, and that she's actually, her and the amount of people paying to come and see her, to getting on trains, getting on planes, eating out, staying at hotels after the gig, has affected the inflation rate in the economy. I mean, that sounds like it should have nothing to do with her, but in a funny way shows the absolute extent and the significance of these shows. You know, it's a bit like when you have a gig and everyone jumps in the air and they say, oh, it measures on the Richter scale. Do you know what I mean? It's like that, but in terms of the economy. Her 8 London shows may provably have had an effect on the UK economy.
Swift's come a long way on her London journey. Remind us about her first gig back in 2008.
What I love about this, the first gig in 2008, King's College London, 10 quid to get in. Apparently it wasn't sold out, which is always the way when you're starting out. I think it's so good that you pick that up and you mention it to people, because if you talk to anyone in the gig business, in the venue business, things like these Taylor Swift gigs, things like Glastonbury are just a nightmare for them. Because if you're spending hundreds of pounds to go and see Taylor Swift at Wembley, right, that's probably your going out money for how well off you are. A couple of weeks, a couple of months, the whole year, you know? So they know they're not spending money on other smaller gigs at that time, and it's just a nightmare for them. But actually, that is a reminder If you're savvy enough, if you're prepared to take a chance, go and see someone you've maybe not heard of, someone you don't know much about, maybe you'll go and see somebody 10 years before they make it to Wembley and make it into this huge mega stardom. You can say you were there. So actually, yes, it's brilliant. She's played Wembley and go and see her at Wembley and it's an amazing show. But also go to your local venue down the road, take a chance, and you never know what you might get.
And what future music acts to come at Wembley?
Bizarrely, actually, at Wembley, not that much. It sounds odd after so much Taylor Swift talk, but there's actually quite a lot of football at Wembley, which is sort of what it's for, Men playing, I think, Greece and Finland, a couple of friendlies. There was an awful lot of wrestling coming. This actually in a sort of Taylor Swift adjacent. We are getting American football. Jacksonville Jaguars and New England Patriots are coming. Wembley's always tried to get American football to London that way. The Lionesses, the women's football team, will be playing there as well. In terms of music, so far at the moment, you have to wait till next year when Dua Lipa comes to play in June. So we will see. It may well be things get slotted in between, because obviously these things are always logistics and a bit of a movable feast. But from when she goes out tonight, it looks like there's a bit of a halt on music for a while. And also, let's be honest, who wants to follow her? Do you know what I mean? They've been a massive triumph. They've been a huge sellout for 8 nights. Who wants to be the person that comes up next?
There's much more news and features in the Evening Standard newspaper and online at standard.co.uk. The Standard podcast is back tomorrow, Wednesday at 4 p.m.